The rain had stopped just before dawn. The great river lay swollen and restless, its surface streaked with drifting branches and torn leaves. Mist rose in pale ribbons, curling between the reeds and acacia roots, softening the edges of the waking savannah. Somewhere in the distance, a fish eagle called, its cry sharp and lonely. Near the river's bend, beneath the drooping shadow of a fever tree, a young crocodile surfaced. His name, if crocodiles had such things, would have meant silent current, for that was how he moved. He was not yet grown, his back plate still smooth, his jaw not strong enough to break bone. But he had learned the ways of patience and stillness. For 3 days, the river had been cruel. The floods had swept away fish, drowned burrows, and muddied the banks so thickly that even the herons avoided it. The crocodile was hungry, but hunger had become his companion, one he neither feared nor welcomed, just endured. That morning, something new came down the river. At first, it was only a bundle of reeds, tangled and bobbing. But then he saw it, a small shape clinging to the floating debris. It moved weakly, paws scraping at the slick surface. The crocodile drifted closer, nostrils barely above water. The creature was a lion cub, soaked and trembling, its golden fur darkened by mud. The crocodile blinked once. In the wild, instinct was simple. The weak fed the strong. The river chose who lived and who sank beneath its surface. And yet, he did not strike. Something in the cub's movements, its blind, desperate will to stay above the water, stilled the hunter in him. The current was pulling fast toward a set of jagged rocks. With a low hiss, the crocodile slid forward and caught the drifting reeds between his jaws. Not the cub, just the raft that carried it. The little lion let out a broken cry, pressing itself flat against the wet mass. Slowly, the crocodile guided the bundle to the shallows, where the water slowed to a soft murmur. When they reached the bank, the cub collapsed, its flanks shuddering. The crocodile waited, half in the water, his eyes fixed on the trembling scrap of fur. The cub's breaths came unevenly, but it lived. Hours passed. The sun climbed higher, burning away the mist. Dragonflies shimmered over the reeds. The crocodile had not moved. Once a stork landed nearby, and he lunged out of instinct, but stopped short, splashing instead of striking. The cub stirred, startled by the noise, and the crocodile felt something new, a kind of responsibility. As day turned to evening, thunder rumbled again on the horizon. The cub woke, blinking with bleary eyes. It looked around, confused, its tiny body stiff from cold. When it saw the crocodile, it froze. 2 golden eyes met 2 yellow ones. Predator and prey, both too young to understand the rules that bound them. The cub gave a faint growl, then a cough. The sound was small and pitiful. The crocodile lowered his head until his snout brushed the wet mud. A silent gesture. The cub hesitated, then lay down again, too exhausted to run. That night, the storm returned. Sheets of rain swept the savannah, drumming on the river like 1,000 tiny drums. The cub whimpered under the fever tree. The crocodile crept closer, his cold body pressing against the roots to shield it from the wind. They stayed like that until dawn, 2 fragile shapes huddled against the world's indifference. By morning, the cub had strength enough to stand. It shook itself clumsily, scattering droplets, and took a few wobbly steps along the bank. The crocodile followed from the water, silent, watchful. When the cub stumbled, he nudged it forward with his snout, just as the current had nudged him once when he was newly hatched. As the days passed, they fell into a rhythm. The crocodile hunted small fish and left them near the shore. The cub, unsure at first, learned to eat them, licking the slippery scales with distaste that faded into gratitude. Sometimes the crocodile basked in the shallows while the cub slept under the tree's shade, their distance always measured, yet their presence shared. They were an odd pair, creature of land and creature of river, bound by accident, surviving by unspoken truce. But peace, like the dry season, never lasts forever. One afternoon, when the sky glowed the color of molten copper, the crocodile sensed movement on the far side of the bank. He sank low, eyes breaking the surface like coins of gold. Through the tall reeds came 3 lionesses, lean, wary, their muscles rippling beneath sunlit fur. The cub lifted its head at once, letting out a weak, hopeful cry. The crocodile stilled. The lionesses froze too, their eyes narrowing. One of them, older with a scar across her muzzle, stepped forward. Her ears twitched at the sound of the cub's voice. She growled low, uncertain, her gaze flicking to the shadow in the water. The crocodile could smell their hunger, the iron tang of it. He knew they were desperate. The flood had driven much of the prey away. If they saw him as competition, he would die before the cub's rescuers could reach him. But the cub ran to the water's edge mewling, tail twitching with recognition. The largest lioness sniffed the air, and something softened in her eyes. She answered with a deep, rolling call, the kind only a mother makes. The cub responded instantly, bounding forward, stumbling over roots and mud. The crocodile watched, unmoving. His throat tightened, though he did not know why. When the cub reached the lioness, she nuzzled it fiercely, almost knocking it over. The other lionesses gathered close, their roars echoing in the warm air. Family found. The world had righted itself again. Then, one of the younger lionesses turned her gaze on the crocodile. She snarled, a warning born of old blood, of hunts lost at the river's edge, of kin drowned by jaws like his. She took a step closer. The crocodile held his ground, his eyes calm and ancient. He did not move. The scarred lioness, the mother, placed herself between them. She looked from the cub to the crocodile, and something unspoken passed between them, a flicker of comprehension that needed no words. For a long moment, neither creature moved. Then, slowly, the lioness lowered her head. It was not submission, but acknowledgement, a gesture of debt in the wild, where debts are rarely given. She took her cub gently by the scruff and began to lead the pride away. The crocodile remained by the water's edge, still as stone. The cub looked back once, eyes bright, and gave a small breathy sound, a call not of fear but farewell. The crocodile blinked once, then slipped beneath the river's surface without a ripple. Seasons turned. The floodwaters receded, and the grass grew tall again. Herds returned to graze. The fever tree shed its bark and grew new leaves. And sometimes, on quiet evenings when the river glowed with sunset fire, the crocodile would rest in the shallows and watch the horizon. He no longer hunted near the bend. He left that place untouched, as though waiting for something that might never return. But fate has a strange sense of timing. One dusk, when the wind smelled of rain again, the crocodile heard a deep rolling roar echo across the plains. Not the thunder of a storm, but the voice of a lion. He turned his head. On the far bank stood a young male, his mane just beginning to grow, his frame strong and proud. Behind him lingered a small pride, their eyes bright in the fading light. The young lion stepped forward, paws sinking into the soft earth. For a moment, the two stared at one another, the ruler of the shore and the keeper of the river. Then the lion did something no creature had done before. He bowed his head, just slightly, before turning back to his pride. The crocodile remained motionless, the faintest ripple curling from his tail. When the lions disappeared into the grass, the crocodile exhaled slowly and closed his eyes. The river whispered around him, full of life again. He would live many years yet, and hunt and fight, and vanish into the dark currents that had always been his home. But somewhere deep inside, the part of him older than hunger, he carried a memory of a small cub floating down a flooded river, and of a choice made against nature itself. Because even among creatures born of fong and scale, there are moments when mercy outweighs instinct. And in those rare, trembling moments, the savannah itself seems to pause and remember.